Hi, my name's Chris. I live in Australia, and my country, Australia, is just starting to take its first steps into a surveillance state with digital ID starting to roll out wide. In this video, I'm going to give my take and perspectives across on the government overreach and control of digital IDs, and going to run through the factors of what's happening, what I've learnt about it, and also we're going to run through a government report on the trials for the digital IDs where they checked out 24 different vendors and the internal reports from the government, from their findings, their observations, their concerns raised, their problems raised, that is not coming out through the mainstream media, that is not being talked about by our government, yet these narcissistic psychopaths at the top of the government, the ones who put the policy out, the ones who claim the credit for these projects going through, these narcissistic psychopaths are just steamrolling straight ahead, even though the people on the ground level of the government are saying we have these problems, we have these concerns. So stay tuned all the way through to the end, because I'm going to surface and go through this report. Now, if this video strikes a chord with you, if you feel you are getting controlled by this government and you're worried about these draconian steps they're about to put across the Australian people, make sure you hit like on the video, make sure you leave a comment with your thoughts, and share it with other people on social media, because every like, every comment, 10 more people are going to see this. We need to wake people up. They need to start smelling the roses, because a lot of people are still asleep to this. There is a communist country that calls our Prime Minister the handsome boy, that has draconian surveillance over its citizens. And our little handsome boy is walking us straight down the same road to be just like them. So quick recap, what's happening in Australia on the 10th of December. Under 16s are going to get banned from social media, so all adults are going to have to verify that their age is over 16 to continue using social media. And then on the 27th of December, there is a secondary spread out on this phase, which applies across to Google and Microsoft, which means just to do a Google search, you're going to need to be age verified in Australia.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
So the mainstream media and the government, they're saying this is all about the kids. But this isn't about the kids on social media. This is about government overreach into our lives. Now, if you don't want your kids to use social media, be a parent and don't let your kids use social media. If you want your kids to have some use on social media, be a responsible parent and teach them how to use social media appropriately. Don't be like, I don't want to be a parent, so I'm going to let the government control my kids. I'm going to let the government raise my kids. I'm going to have the government make decisions for my kids because I don't want to be a parent. Be a parent. So where we're at is the Australian government's putting policies forwards, and they're going to sue the big tech companies $50 million for breaches on this kind of stuff. But what's happening is the big tech companies, they're fighting back against Australia, and they've resisted this digital ID stuff. And they said, no, well, you just want age verification, so we're going to use our own internal data to verify that people are over 16. And this is stuff like checking, say, YouTube as an example, checking, does this YouTube account, is it linked to a Google account that has a credit card? Because that means that they'll be over 18, therefore over 16. They're using their internal data to check the account ages to verify over 16. They're checking the searches people are doing and the videos they're watching to AI infer that they're over 16. Other social media platforms are going to be using things like biometrics for age verification, where it scans your face and infers if that user is in a certain age bracket. Anyone that's flagged under 16 is going to need to provide ID verification to the big tech companies to prove that they're over 16, otherwise their accounts are going to be cut off. And I'm kind of torn on this because it kind of shows how far big tech has gone with harvesting our data over the years. And I'm torn because I'm fine with big tech having harvested our data to prove our age so that our government doesn't have to force digital ID on us. It is such a weird state. It's like the lesser of two evils. Like 10 years ago, we were at the point of like, don't share your ID with anyone online. And now it's moving to the point of like, share your ID with everything to validate and verify yourself. You might be thinking, yeah, you beauty, sweet, big tech's got me sorted, I need to provide ID. But where this is all going to fall over is when the bureaucratic blob within the Australian government starts to want to verify and validate that big tech's done their correct verifications, because they want to issue them $50 million fines, and they're going to request data to big tech. They're going to say, hey, give us access to your data so we can verify that you're applying the correct under 16 bans or age verification processes. And when that happens, big tech is going to say, go for yourself. No way in hell. This is our data. Because for them, they see Australia, the Australian government, that's a foreign government to them. They're not going to give access to their data to a foreign government. It's at this point that the Australian government will turn around and start to mandate digital IDs because they don't have control over the data. So phase one of the Australian government's digital ID is to be able to expose out an age or an age bracket range. This is their first phase through for an API to be able to expose it, interact it, and it returns out a binary or a bracket range saying over 16 or over 18 or user is between 13 and 16. And what seems harmless, it's just a little bit of an age verification for your social media and for your Google searches. And you have all of your information stored just for a value of your age to be exposed and sent out to say that you are over an age bracket or you're under an age bracket or you're between certain age bracket. All harmless. It's just all your ID, everything about you stored for just one thing to be released and exposed out to the wider world. But what happens later on down the track when the government makes another small change and they expose your full name and your date of birth together? If it's gone that far, why not expose your address as well if it's requested? And why not your tax file number to verify that you are registered for tax and you can have a job in Australia? Now, what if this combination of your full name, your date of birth, your address, and that little hash that it creates is needed for you to be able to log into your bank? What if you need to tap your phone with all this information just to hop on a bus for public transport? It starts to become this all-controlling thing and it's tracking everything that you're doing. So hypothetically, there's a centralized control from the government, which is your digital ID. What if they could freeze you? What if they can block you out of doing certain things? What if they flag your digital ID and they lock you off social media? What if they flag your ID and they lock you out of the banks? What if they make a decision down the track and they say, you know what? We're not going to print driver's licenses anymore. We're not going to print passports anymore. We're not going to print birth certificates anymore. What if they make that decision and they force you to have a digital ID or be cut off from the modern world? And it's not just online either. So in scope on the age verification for phase one of the government IDs, it's also physical locations. So you'll have to show your digital ID to get into a pub, go to a nightclub, go to the bottle, prove your age. Now, if history serves, it was only just a couple of years ago where there was a government app where if you didn't check in with it, you were denied entry. Did you feel good about that application when it came out? And do you want to follow something similar to that for the rest of your life? Now, what if we all hold hands with the government and walk down this road together with them, and 5 years down the track, you're going into a Coles or Woolworths and more information is exposed out than just your age verification. It's your full name, it's your date of birth, your address, everything. And we're down that track and you're at a Coles or Woolworths and you have to tap your phone to enter a Coles or Woolworths through the gate due to a government public safety ordinance to track and verify everyone that's heading out in public. How would you feel about that? The government tracing you for going to a Coles or Woolworths. Does it have to get to that point before people start to wake up and go, what the hell actually happened here? Every technical interaction on apps and services, they're logged. Who's logging it? What are they storing? What are they doing with your biometrics? Why do you even need biometrics to confirm you? How long are these logs stored for? Who can access the logs? That's a good question. Can law enforcement access the logs? Can the taxation department access the logs? Can a private company, insurance company, can they access the logs? What privacy do you have at that point when every interaction you do online at home or in public is traced and tracked by Big Brother? The technology and policy is starting with basic age verification and then expanding and snowballing from there. It doesn't start all at once. It's one little bit at a time, like a frog boiling in water, and they turn the temperature up over time slowly, and before we know it, we are completely cooked. If privacy of our data is so important, how can we trust this government? Because between 2018 and 2024, there were 63 notifiable security breaches to the government. 63 cyber breaches over 6 years. You've probably heard about Optus getting a hack. What happened to 63 from the government? Bet you didn't hear about that through the mainstream news. And after 63 cyber security breaches, we're supposed to trust that our data is safe with this government. Are we supposed to trust the government who rolled out robo-debt which is over 500,000 invalid debts put upon the population of Australia, over $1.8 billion in incorrect debt, which targeted and landed on the most financially vulnerable in the country, our pensioners, our single parents, people on disabilities. Are we supposed to trust a government who rolled out that technology? Or what about that recent one, the COVID Safe app, which restricted the freedom and movements of 7.9 million Australians who download that app to participate in it? And across the entire program of that application, it only detected 2 people with COVID-19. Are we supposed to trust a government who rolls out technology like that to us? I think not. I think this government's got a long line of technical failures that they've pushed upon the Australian people and have failed time after time. There is a track record of failure from this government when it comes to technology. When it comes to their digital ID programs, they're opening up the program to submissions and applications from third parties to start to integrate with the government in 2026. Next year, 2026, private companies will be allowed to engage with the government to use government IDs to start to integrate government IDs with their companies. It's coming, guys. It's happening. You know what? It's not mandatory. It's just voluntary. But if you don't choose to participate, you'll just be cut off from society. It's as voluntary as a chokehold. So let's quickly run through a government report on their evaluations of an age assurance technology trial, finished up on August 2025, and it was put together by the Australian government, the Department of Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development, Communications, Sports and the Arts. Now, reports like these have a lot of waffle from bureaucrats talking very highly of the programs, but some of the people who put their findings and research forward have flagged out the concerns and the problems with these trials. So we're going to focus on the problems and concerns for these projects, which should be handbrakes to stop it all, but the psychopathic narcissists at the top who want to claim credit for projects being done and push their policies and agendas forward, they're the ones who have ignored these concerns, have ignored these problems, and are proceeding full steam ahead, steamrolling through without any regards for the consequences. So I'm just going to highlight the things through, you connect the dots from there. Across the program, opportunities exist to enhance risk management and system capability, especially regarding real-time detection of lost or stolen documents. When it comes to the trials, several providers lacked the ability to check documents against live government databases to determine whether a document had been reported lost or stolen. Security against ingestion attacks where malicious code or media bypasses the biometric capture process is improving but still emerging. On mystery shopper feedback reports, words that came through were issues, concerns, privacy. The total trial had 11,934 people in the sample size. That's 9,420 school tests and 2,514 mystery shops. The trial was done across 24 age verification providers. Across the mystery shoppers, false negatives were at 3.07% age verification and false positives were at 2.95% for age verification. The trial identified a concerning trend among a minority of providers toward over-preparing for investigatory or forensic requests. This included the retention of full biometric or document data for all users, even when such retention was not required or requested. These are the companies who participated in the age verification trials with the Australian government. For limitations and out-of-scope items, they did not include volume stress testing, although degradation in performance for any reason during the testing was noted. In some cases, the system stopped working during individual tests. It did not conduct technical penetration testing or cryptographic audits. An exact age determination, whether someone is 14 or 15, was out of scope. Focus was on threshold-based verification, 13 plus, 16 plus, 18 plus. Just spinning back to they did not conduct technical penetration testing. So they didn't ethically hack. They didn't do security testing on this one. They didn't see if these integrations could be hacked. I think that should not be out of scope. I think that's one of the most crucial things that should be in these testings and trials. You put it in place, you see if you can hack it, you see if the data is safe. But they put hacking these systems out of scope. The report concludes that there are no substantial technological limitations to the implementation of age verification in Australia. This should be interpreted narrowly. Verifying users without formal ID or supporting access in remote locations may require further policy, infrastructure, or community-based solutions rather than technological innovation. So some of these digital ID providers, they're pulling in from utility account records. So Are they accessing your phone bills? Are they accessing your water bills? Are they accessing your NBN? What are they accessing? What utilities are they accessing? How are they getting access to this private information? And for telecommunications or mobile operator data, is that saying that they are accessing across to your telcos, to your Telstras, your Optuses, and pulling data from them? Or is it accessing to your device directly, your mobile phone, and pulling data out of your mobile phone? When you accept these digital ID vendors onto your mobile phone, are you aware of what they can access, what they are logging, what they are taking off your device? Part of the evaluation trial was access to physical venues. Oh, so it's not just online anymore, guys. It's talking about bars, nightclubs, age-restricted events, or licensed venues. Age verification must be fast, frictionless, and reliable under time-sensitive and often low-light conditions. So guys, this is not just for online activity. So the wider scope of this age verification is for out in the real world, is for actually getting out there and doing things. As age verification continues to evolve in Australia, we can expect greater emphasis on cross-sector interoperability. Meaning that different sectors, different areas around the country, so different industries, will start to communicate with each other via these digital IDs. They'll learn to work with each other. They'll learn to pass the data between each other. The interoperability, the way that they pass things and connect with each other will get greater and greater. It is one big connecting blob. So having the woke government that we have, they also include a section on inclusivity and fairness, where they observed several promising approaches, including the use of alternative or community-based records to establish a date of birth, such as school records, health service data, or community verification processes. And that's for our First Nations people, where the government has identified that their access to reliable internet out rural can impact their acceptance or ability to use a digital ID. They've also flagged digital literacy and device ownership as a risk. Unfortunately, our First Nations people out rural and remote are not digital literate enough to be able to use a digital ID. They're saying that it is a wide 25-point gap between First Nations people and non-Indigenous Australians in very remote areas. So from the government's own report, they're flagging that it's going to be difficult to get First Nations people to be using digital ID. The report found that providers were increasingly aware of injection attack vectors, whereby the user is able to bypass the sensor on the device, such as the camera, and inject code or images into the age assurance system workflow. Some providers were able to demonstrate some resilience to this type of attack. The report found some concerning evidence where providers were found to be building tools to enable regulators, law enforcement, or coroners to retrace the actions taken by individuals to verify their age, which could lead to increased risk of privacy breaches due to unnecessary and disproportionate collection and retention of data. They found evidence of a trend among some age verification providers towards building tools that enable detailed audit trails capable of supporting future investigations by regulators, law enforcement agencies, or coroners. These sometimes involve the retention of original biometric images, such as selfies, or copies of identity documents. The issue at the heart of this finding is not that audit trails exist, but that systems are being configured to retain full, reconstructible identity and biometric data for all users, regardless of risk, regulatory context, or outcome. And this architecture anticipates rare and tragic edge cases. For example, a coroner wanting to verify how a person passed an age check before suicide, but applies a surveillance level response to the entire user population. Mate, stuff like this is dystopian level stuff. I can't even fathom it. In effect, every user may be subject to indefinite logging just in case one case warrants investigatory review. The concern is this data may be misused or accessed under vague or overly broad investigatory powers. So the concerns on regulatory clarity is when and how data should be retained for investigatory purposes and the lawful conditions under which law enforcement or coronial authorities may request access. So the government at this point doesn't have policy or a framework in place for the authorities to come through, go through the data, get access to the data, And they're wondering how that's going to work. So that's not even figured out yet from the government. Age verification providers, they require clear, enforceable frameworks that support exceptional investigatory needs without building surveillance into the fabric of everyday age assurance. So at this point, I've given you what I know. Now it's up to you to connect the dots. It's up to you to do your own research. It's up to you to share this information with other people. It's up to you to start to wake other people up. You know, there's a lot of people still asleep, and you know, this kind of stuff, it doesn't happen overnight. They're stripping away one layer of liberty and freedom at a time from us here in Australia. Just one little bit. The boiling frog, temperature's going up. We're getting cooked. So leave a comment of your thoughts while you still can. Like the video while you still can, so it can push this out to wake more people up. Share it across to other social media platforms, because it's moments like these where people in history will look back and they'll ask the questions, why didn't they speak up? Why didn't they do anything? Now's our time to fight. We need to speak up. We need to be heard. We need to not comply to these voluntary programs. We need to fight for our future and our freedom. Don't comply.